Hey, everybody. All right. So today I want to talk about some of the stuff that everyone's using with AI. And one of the things that people are doing is like, oh, all of our engineers are using AI and this is amazing. But then they do this for a few months and then they realize that they're actually not delivering faster or they're not delivering higher quality or AI is not providing the level of improvement that they were hoping. And the first response is everyone's blaming the AI, right? So everyone's like, oh, well, the AI isn't configured right. Oh, we're using the wrong model. We're using the wrong blah, blah, blah. Or the team isn't using it enough, or they're using it the wrong way. And the problem is actually your process of what you probably are implementing in regards to how your team is leveraging AI. And it's not that difficult, but there's a motto that I have is got to slow down to speed up, right? And to do that, you have to realize what you need to do to help your engineers be better and still maintain the quality that you want. And the hardest thing for a lot of people to do, they're like, well, let me just throw it in ChatGPT or let me throw it in Claude and just have it run with it. You can do that, and what will happen is you won't get the results you want. And what generally occurs from that is you will actually then start having less confidence in the models that you're using. And by doing all of that, you've spent all of this money and time, and you still aren't getting the results you want. All right. So let's cut to the chase. How do you solve that? Well, the easiest way to solve that is start more on the planning side of the AI. Treat the AI, the models that you're using. I don't care if you're using Copilot, if you're using Codex, if you're using Claude, don't care. The way you need to start that is train it on what you're actually doing and train it on some of the stuff that you know about your code base. Don't just open a code base and say, tell me about this code base. That's the default. That's what everyone does. But you should give it context. And there's a lot of different ways you can give it context. One, you can ask it to interview you about your code base. Another way you can actually do it is give it a markdown file that you've created that explains the code base with your information. So it's based off of what you know, not what it figures out. Because keep in mind, there's a lot of code bases that you're going to introduce this to that has bad practices, not best, bad practices. And it will learn from those bad practices. And what will happen is it will implement those bad practices as well, this is your code base. So this must be what you're looking for. You need to actually tell it, hey, no, this is what the code base does. There are some, just call out your problems. Be honest with it. Don't pretend that your code base is this amazing information resource on how to write the most flawless code. Tell it it's not. Tell it that it needs help, it needs work. Don't assume, tell it not to assume that what you've already done is successful. And even though it may be working, it might not be the practice that you want to use moving forward. There are some bases that I've worked with that are over a decade old, and I started bringing it into it, and it was like, oh, you're using jQuery. Some people still use jQuery. It's not bad. It does what it needed to do for its time. There are probably better ways to actually implement certain kinds of animations. CSS has come such a far way. And I would give it the information to say, this is the current code base. I want to modernize it. I know it has problems using these libraries. I know there are vulnerabilities in regards to this. Please identify security risks that you have found. And there are going to be things that you haven't even looked for, but you need to give it the context of what you're actually looking for. And it will find it probably way better than most humans. I'm sure you heard about the recent hack by ChatGPT and Hugging Face, and it actually was able to pull in all of that. And it actually was like, oh, well, here's going to be the solution for this. So let me go do this to get the information that I need to actually get the results that the user has asked for. And AI is really good at figuring out the best solution, whether it be ethical, moral, or secure is another debate. But what it actually does is it will actually solve all of those problems that you have given it. When you give it a new code base to learn from, you want to actually give it a list of instructions of what you hope to get out of it, and maybe even examples that you already have. That will actually improve your engineering process. And therefore, the engineers will actually build a higher level of confidence in what the AI is producing. And then, like, one of the big challenges that people have with AI is that the level of interactions for UI is it's not up to par. It's not pixel perfect. The designers spent hours in Figma and it still doesn't look right. It didn't pull in the right thing. Even though you're using the MCP, it is not accurate. You need to spend a little bit more time training it, and the execution will just happen. I give it the design system, give it screenshots, tie it to Figma using an MCP if you're using Figma. And then it will actually start producing things that are more aligned with your brand, your style, and your coding practices that you have already established. There are some rules that you will put around that that will actually make it really beneficial. And those rules that you create are going to be customizable for you. And it might actually not even just be for you, it might be for your specific project. So, one of the things that we don't take into account as humans, because we take in so much information, whether we realize it or not, is we don't realize all the information we're taking in. And a lot of it, everyone's like, oh, well, I gave it the code base. Great, you gave it the code base. Did you give it the security experience that you have, the compliance experience that you have? Did you give it the design system that your designers have created? Did you give it a plethora of books that you've already read and learned from? And everyone's like, oh, it should have already learned all that because it was trained on. Oh, wait, you don't know what it was trained on, do you? You just assume that it was trained on the best and brightest at that time. And Anthropic is amazing, huge fan. ChatGPT and OpenAI, their models are getting better every day. And are those models trained on really good practices? Sure. But do you have exceptions in your case for an edge case, for a specific user, for a specific scenario that it has no idea about? And unless you give it that context, it's not going to learn. And one of the ways that it learns is the same way that we learn, is let it make mistakes and then go, hey, I understand why you did that. That was wrong. Don't do that again. And here's why. And here is the exception. So make sure that doesn't happen again. One of the things I was working on is identifying the tone and style of what I do. And I've told it repeatedly, never use M dashes in anything I ever write or anything that you claim to write. And I would say once a week it still goes and puts in an M dash. Does not follow that rule. There are rules that you're going to have that it will not follow. And that is one of the concerns. One of the things you can do, though, is you can actually start using, well, what they are calling hooks. So you can actually use hooks that will actually solve those problems specifically. It will run through the hook before it actually releases or responds to anything. And that hook is actual code. I write mine in Python. You can write it in JavaScript. It doesn't really matter. But just or whatever language, Go, Rust, I don't care. But make sure that that hook is doing exactly what you want it to do. I think that's the most important part. Process that people are using for AI is the problem. It's not the AI. Execution is easy now. We need to spend a little bit more time on the planning mode, right? On the planning methods, making sure that the plan that the AI is going to execute against is exactly what you want. And if it's not, work on that. Don't work on the execution part. It's going to execute way better than you will and way faster than you will. Just accept that. That's the new paradigm. But the planning is where engineers' experience and knowledge and training and all of that still comes to use, and very, very useful, because it will actually allow the AI to be better. Then, when you bring on a new engineer, you will now have a trained agent based off of your code base that a new engineer can actually start interacting with all of the knowledge about your contextual code base, and not what it assumed, but what you specifically instructed it to do. That's all I had for today. I just wanted to talk about some of that. Some of the other things that are in my head is the way people are using AI to generate different things, the way people organize their AI modules. Like, I created this entire operating system and gave me a daily notification summary, and then it runs it twice a day and gives me that. I'm going to talk about that probably at the next one. Created a new intro for this. The outro is still the same. I'm playing with some of the generative AI stuff, but that's all I got for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you later. Go build something amazing.